I usually begin with a boisterous, how are you doing? And I expect a big, awesome, things are great. I don't think this week is the right week to ask that question, honestly. And I was thinking just a little bit about how I'm doing, and I know that it changed essentially every day this week. On Monday, I was doing great. And then on Tuesday, we were here with our team, and we rode out the storm in this building. After we cleaned up a little bit, we sent most of our team home. More than a quarter of our staff still doesn't have power today. And then I just walked around the building. And I walked the berm behind our building, and I met some neighbors that I had never met before whose playset was overturned in their yard. And then I met some neighbors who are part of our church, and there was a playset overturned in their yard. I said, I'm so sorry. And they said, that's not our playset. That's just the reality of what we face. And so, we're all working through that, of course. And so I wanted the staff to go home and check on their own places, all that sort of thing. But on Wednesday, when we came in, it felt like we had a test. And it was just a one-question test. Well, who are we in the midst of a crisis? What do we really believe about what a church should be and should do in a season like we experienced this past week? And our team responded in some remarkable ways. You know about the response to shift our Thursday service into a Thursday serve night. What you may not know is that within about 24 hours of the storm, everyone who's relationally connected at Suncrest, you're on a serving team, you're in a group, everyone was contacted by their leader to check in, only thwarted by some poor cell phone service in a few pockets. And people were cared for and walked with, and you walked with others. And I want you to know that's who we are. On Thursday morning, I was texting with people at 7 a.m. as we were doing, and what I was trying to do at that stage was find a generator for our new high school pastor. His name's Will. Will and Haley and their 4 kids moved here, relocated to Northwest Indiana on August 1st. So far, their house in Northwest Indiana has had power for 10 days and not had power for 6 days. And so we were looking for a generator for him. And so I reached out to my men's group. And come to find out, guys in my men's group were already trading generators with each other. One had gotten power, so he passed it on to another guy. And then right as I'm texting, that guy's like, well, we just got power, so I'll take it to Will. And I'm like, well, this is how a church ought to work, right? And it's not just generators. It's food being delivered and basements cleaned out. And I just want to say to all of you, Suncrest, thank you for stepping up, for being selfless, for watching out for your neighbors, and for doing what we are trying to do. Our plans for serving Thursday were thwarted again by the weather, but on Friday, a staff who was selfless had prepared in the midst of all their own turmoil so that we could serve. And I got to tell you, starting at 6 o'clock, at 5:30, I look out, and there is a convoy of trailers, of dump trucks, of people who are part of Suncrest and not part of Suncrest, who showed up to work and to serve. And after the convoy of trailers, then an army of people who came. If you were here, you know you were deployed. And first, we sent groups to 5 different families that we knew about that really had a need at their place. And we went and took care of all those families. And then we sent the rest of the team out to work in our neighborhoods. And I'll tell you, I was overwhelmed by the difference that it made. And maybe only more overwhelmed by how much more there is to do. And so, Suncrest, I just want us to remember who we are in this season. And I'm grateful that you came today to worship, to gain some perspective, to offer your prayers to God, and to be together. And this week we deploy again. I've had in mind this series that I'm starting today for quite some time, and I think in a certain way, this heightened week for us gives us exactly what we need to step into this very series. There are needs and opportunities that all of us have in front of us, and one of the things that's pretty much true about all of human nature is that we all wish things were different in our lives. We hope that something would change. And for some of us, that's true of almost our whole life. We just wish life was entirely different. For others of us, it's a pocket of our life. It's a relationship. It's something financial. It's with our job. But all of us, we have kind of a hope, a wish that things would be different. The other universal thing about human nature is that lots of times nothing changes. And so while we have a hope or a wish, we don't have any traction. And then it becomes a frustration. And I just want to identify for us something that we'll all see very quickly, that you can hope things are different. You can wish things you are different. You can even pray that things would be different. But until you and I draw some lines in the sand that understand who we are and where we take our responsibility, things don't change. And that's why I'm doing this series we're calling Declarations. I want it to be an invitation to all of us to identify the parts in our lives that are not as we want them to be, and to, once and for all, draw some lines in the sand and say, I'm not fiddling with it anymore. I'm not just experimenting. I'm not just wishing or hoping or even just praying. I am defining something. And over the next 5 weeks, I'll give you some things to define together. The one for today ends up being the perfect umbrella for the whole series. Now, I think we're all pretty familiar with the idea of declarations. One quick example, 250 years ago, the Declaration of Independence. We just celebrated that on July 4th. And of course, when we think about it historically, there's a little nostalgia around it. We see the paintings and we hear the stories and we're like, oh, there must have been total unity around that. Everyone was on the same page. We're declaring and here we go. But that's not how life really works. What really was going on is that for years prior, people wanted things to be different. They wished things would be different. Some were even raising their hands and saying, we need to make things different. But there was not a sense of, I'll pay the price for it to be different. And I don't know if you know this, there are 56 people who signed the Declaration of Independence, every one of them knowing that when they signed their name on the line, it could cost them their life. And there were some people like John Dickinson who decided not to sign. They didn't sign. They're like, I think we can still manage the situation. Maybe we can keep negotiating. And this is just true. I want us to see it in our own lives that when we try to manage the situation or keep negotiating, usually it's just a recipe for kicking it down the road and nothing changing. And so we're going to look at 5 declarations. Let me go ahead and just give you the first one. This is the declaration for today, and I'm wondering if you'll make this declaration. This declaration is, I will take responsibility for my life, not blaming others for where I am. The buck stops with me. Now, at the end of this service, I'm going to ask those of you who would commit to this declaration to say it out loud with me. But for right now, I'm actually going to ask you all to say it out loud for me, just to kind of try it on. You're not committing to it yet, but let's try it on together and see how it feels to say, oh, could I make this line in the sand for me? Let's read it together. I will take responsibility for my life, not blaming others for where I am. The buck stops with me. Oh, you do understand how countercultural this is. You understand that in lots of our relationships, the orientation is an entirely different way. We say things like, well, he lied to me. Well, she never stops yelling. We say, my dad yelled, so I can't help but yell. We say, my dad walked out on me. My mom never got sober. He doesn't show affection. He doesn't listen. She won't be intimate with me. It's like she doesn't respect me. And once we place the blame on someone else, some of which is true, all of a sudden we abdicate the responsibilities for ourselves, and the buck doesn't stop with us anymore. It stops with someone else. But it's not just relational, of course. It's in our workplaces. I mean, how many excuses do you hear? The Wi-Fi was down, the copier didn't work, the road was closed, the culture is toxic. Or from the management, boss side, people just don't want to work anymore. And we deflect whatever responsibility might be ours. We enter into a blame game. We say it's somebody else's fault, and no longer does the buck stop with us. Of course, in our nation, this is true. With politicians, it's true. And we, most of us, are cheering on our politicians when they don't take responsibility. Because if you lean red, it's those awful Democrats. And if you lean blue, it's those awful Republicans. And it's always somebody else's fault. And very rarely, if ever, do you hear someone stand up and say, you know what, actually, that's on me. That's on me. How many of you would agree? We have a problem in our country right now with people not taking responsibility, and there's a victim mentality. How many of you would agree? Now, here's my question, and I wasn't trying to trap you. Well, actually, I was. I was trying to trap you. When you raised your hand, you were thinking about yourself, right? Wrong. That's not what we do. And so this whole idea of taking responsibility, which has been a problem, as I'll show you, from the beginning of time, I think it comes down to this phrase, that's on me. I'm hoping that this week you use the phrase, that's on me, about 50 times. So can we just practice this phrase out loud? We should get used to hearing it come out of our own mouths. Let's say it together. That's on me. Hey, honey, that's on me. Start the email to your boss. I just want you to know, this is on me. You start talking about the issues in our country, and of course, there's lots of things going on, and they're not all on you, but what hope do we have of changing anything unless we start with the parts that are on us and we say, that's on me. Let me just show you from the scriptures how perpetual this has been through all of time. And I do want to invite you today not to think about somebody else, not to think about the person you're sitting next to, not to think about the person who's at home that you wish was here listening, but to think about ourselves. Because this is the idea. That's on me. You go back to the very beginning of time, God created Adam and Eve. This is the passage. It says, God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. What God has given to Adam and Eve is a vision. It's a vision. Hey, here's the idea. Go build this out and take responsibility for it. Govern it, subdue it. That's the vision. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but when there's a really compelling vision and you have healthy people in the mix, you don't need lots of rules. In fact, you might remember this from the creation story. There's only one rule. You know what the rule is? Do not eat from that one tree. Hey guys, do you know who ate from the tree first? Tell me. The woman. So can we all agree? I'll close in prayer and we'll, of course that's not the case, but that's exactly what we do. Now, I do want you to appreciate this. I was just hanging out 10 days ago with a guy in our church. He's an attorney, and I found out he went to Wabash College. Some of you are Wabash men or you know Wabash men, and this has been fascinating for me ever since I learned about it years ago, that at Wabash College, they only have one rule. Most of the colleges that you went to or your kids go to, they have a handbook this thick. At Wabash College, this is the rule. The student is expected to conduct himself at all times, both on campus and off campus, as a gentleman and as a responsible citizen. And you know what would happen if we all took responsibility for ourselves and said, the buck stops with me, that's on me. We wouldn't need all these rules. But that's not how we function. It's never been how humanity has functioned. And so Adam and Eve broke the rule, Eve first, and then very quickly Adam. And the moment that they did, something happened in them. It's the same thing that happens to us when we've done something wrong, but we would like to deflect the attention from that. We would like to justify our behavior, not have to own the consequences, maybe even afraid of the punishment that's coming. They felt shame. And when you feel shame, when you've done something wrong, you will start to try to create stories to cover up what you did and shine the light somewhere else. This is what Adam and Eve did. It says they sewed fig leaves together. They made coverings for themselves. It said, I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And the cover up begins literally and, more important, figuratively. It's what we all do. Now I want you to see how the story goes. God meets Adam and Eve in the garden, and he inquires of Adam about what has just happened. And again, I don't know how well you know your Bible, but let me just describe Adam's response before I read it. He basically says, hey, God, listen, that's on me. It's on me. Do not blame Eve. She had nothing to do with this. I should have stopped it. I'll take responsibility. I own it. Tell me what my consequences are. And man, hopefully we can build this and rebuild it and move forward. You remember when Adam said that? No, because Adam did not say, that's on me. What Adam said was, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some of the fruit from the tree and I ate it. God, can't be my fault. Can't be my fault. Did you see what she did? She went first, and then she made me sniff it. She made me sniff it. It smelled good. I was kind of weak in the knees. I'm trying to serve her. I don't want to be rude to her. Clearly, did I do something wrong? I probably did, but it's not my fault. It's her fault. But it's actually not just her that Adam's blaming. You see how this goes? It says, the man said, the woman, you put here with me, God. Oh, also God, I don't know if you noticed this, but things were going fine when it was just you and me. And it wasn't my idea to bring a woman into the mix. That was your idea. We were out there naming the animals, having a good time. Everything was fine. Tell me we don't do this. God, why did you do that? Instead of saying, actually, that's on me. And after the conversation goes a little further, he goes to the woman, and the woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. The devil made me do it. The temptation was too strong. There was no way I could have possibly resisted that. And all we see in the very beginning is human beings doing what we are all prone to do. It's not my fault, it's their fault. It's not my fault, God, it's your fault. It's not my fault, it's the devil's fault. The buck, I don't know where it stops, but this isn't on me. The world's been ruined ever since. This is what we do. I have this distinction here, like there's a mirror, right? And when you look in a mirror, you see yourself. You see your own flaws. You can take responsibility for what's there. I mean, I'm looking at this mirror right now. I'm like, that doesn't look so great. By the way, have you noticed that as I'm aging, the cameras are also getting better? This is a terrible combination for me. Terrible combination. But when you look at yourself, you can say, oh, that's on me. But what most people do, we have a magnifying glass. They're like, oh, it's probably your fault. Yeah. Or yours. I mean, I can't be held responsible. And this is what we do. We instead of the mirror, Adam says, I think it was her. Might have been you. Could have been the devil that made us do it. Some of us have like two magnifying. This is how it looks. And if this was just the origin story of humanity, it would be enough for us to be like, yeah, we're prone to that. But I just need you to see, this does not stop, and it has not stopped. Real quick survey. Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve's two sons. Cain kills Abel. The Lord said to Cain, where's your brother Abel? I don't know. Cain didn't say, that's on me. Actually, he says the opposite. Am I my brother's keeper? Actually, you are, Cain. This is how it works in a relationship, in a family, in a community, in a church. That we have to watch out for each other, that I don't even just take responsibility for myself, but I'll take responsibility for someone else. But Cain didn't do that. Fast forward to Moses, one of the great figures of the Old Testament. He was on Mount Sinai after God had delivered them through the Red Sea. And while he's up there waiting a little too long for all the Israelites and his brother Aaron's desires, God is like, you got to get down there, Moses. This is all going bad. Because Aaron and the people had built a golden calf. I want you to see how this conversation goes. Aaron says to Moses, don't be angry. You know how prone these people are to evil. I mean, I know I'm the leader, but you can't hold me responsible for this. They were the ones who wanted to do it, Moses. They said to me, make us gods who will go before us. How could I say no to that? And as for this fellow Moses, that's you who brought us up out of Egypt. We don't even know what's happened to him. I mean, this kind of points us into like, oh, a lot of people will say that's on me for a short time. But you endure 6 months of someone not listening to you, not giving you affection. You endure a childhood of pain, and it will eat away at you. Be like, I've waited long enough. I think I get to do my own thing now. And then get this. So I told them, this is Aaron, Whoever has any gold jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold, and I threw it in the fire. And out came this calf. I have sat in my office with people telling me about their marriages, and it sounds like this. I don't know. I just did this, I did this, and they did that, and then I cheated. I mean, it can't really be on me, can it? I mean, if he's not. Let me fast forward to a very consequential one. New Testament. Jesus on trial, standing in front of Pilate. The question is Jesus going to the cross or not? And here's what Pilate does. When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. I'm innocent of this man's blood, he said. It's your responsibility. Pilate doesn't say, hey, this is on me. I'm in the position of authority. It's my responsibility to make a call. I have to own the decision that I make. Nope. He washes his hands of it, literally and figuratively. And today I'm just asking all of us, myself included, to consider where we do the same. There are such significant problems with blame. Let me name two of them to you. When we play the blame game, you carry the same issues into your future. I brought this laundry basket today, and this literally is dirty laundry from my house. It's just towels. It's fine. But to me, this is one of the images of people who play the blame game. It's like, well, we have our dirty laundry. And the dirty laundry, I mean, at your house, some of it's your fault and some of it's not your fault, right? And so we take this dirty laundry, and the challenge is you carry it out of the last thing and into the next thing. There were problems in your last job. Some of it was their fault. Some of it was your fault. You focus on the part that's their fault, the blame game, and you walk into your next job having never dealt with the things that were your fault. This happens in marriages. You were married. You're divorced. It's tough. You walk through that. You step into a new relationship. But there's a storyline in your head that doesn't really say, like, you know what, that was on me. The storyline is that was on her. That was on him. That was their dirty laundry. And because some of it was, that's the part you pay attention to. You don't pay attention to yours. And then you take your same issues and you carry them into your next marriage. This is unbelievably toxic and difficult for our relationships because, secondly, the problem with blame is you forfeit your own power. As long as it's somebody else's fault, as long as you can justify your behavior based on what they did to you, you have actually forfeited your ability to change. It goes something like this. Unless they change, I can't. Unless they take responsibility, I won't. And the moment that you and I are focused on others, it's just paralyzing. It just forfeits our own power. When I was in college, I was the president of our student cabinet my senior year. I didn't know this when I took that position, that the president of the student cabinet is the student representative on the discipline committee for the school. And so when one of my fellow students gets in trouble and they end up in front of the discipline committee, I'm the student rep on that. Before the first meeting we ever had, and we had plenty that year, the vice president of the school, who had been doing this for many years, said to the whole team, including me, he said, hey, just so you know, I've been doing this for many years. Not once has a student walked in here and taken responsibility for what they did. Can you believe that? I mean, I'm at a Christian school. I'm at a school that's for like pastors and missionaries and things like that. They break the rules and everyone comes with their list of justifications. why they did it, why it wasn't that big of a deal, why they should kind of get off this time, why they should be able to move forward without any consequences. And he said to us, he's like, the first time someone walks in here, they hang their head and they say, that's on me. We're going to let them go. I mean, we're going to wash this away. But I just predict it's probably not going to happen this year. And it didn't. And nobody changed. Because when you blame someone else, you forfeit your ability to change. Now, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios here. And I think at least 1 or 2 of these scenarios will fit your life, maybe all 3. And I'm going to ask you to do some serious soul work to start to imagine if you and I could say, you know what, that's on me. Here's scenario number 1. When all of it is my fault. There's a situation going on, and honestly, the whole thing's my fault. And when we're honest inside, though maybe this hasn't come out yet, you would say something like, I should have listened to my parents. I shouldn't have had another drink. It's on me. I should have taken a cab. That's on me. I shouldn't have sent those pictures. That's on me. There is no one else to blame. It is all on me. It is all on you. And when that's true, we have to own it completely. The buck stops with me. There are plenty of other situations when it's not all my fault, when some of it is my fault. Probably every relationship you're in that has a relational dilemma, some of it is your fault, and some of it is their fault. I saw a meme online actually this week where it said, hey, you know, if your husband has problems, you got to remember it takes 2, so make sure you blame him and his mother. So what do you do when some of it is legitimately someone else's fault and some of it's yours? Well, if you focus on the part that is someone else's, you have rendered yourself powerless. And if you focus on your part, not theirs, there's nobility in that. You may or may not be able to transform the entire relationship. You just take responsibility for your part. The one thing you know is the relationship will never transform if you don't take responsibility for your part. So you take your part because it's right and because it's godly and because it's yours, and you do your part. Now, I know what a lot of us are thinking because we're in tough relationships out there. And if I put this up like a pie chart of my part and their part, it might look something like this, right? And I don't think too many of us in the room are being like, yeah, this is my part and this is their part. But let's just say for a moment, what if this is your part? The other person has this. The only thing a follower of Jesus can do, the only thing an adult can do in a healthy way. Say, well, I can't change them. We know God is the one who actually provokes and does the changing. I think he's doing some of it right now, actually. I guess I'll focus on my part. And if husbands and wives, if sons and daughters and parents in this room would hear one another say multiple times this week, you know, that's on me, actually, we will be in such a healthier place. Now, before I get to the third one, I want to acknowledge what I know is true in the room right now. Some of you are mad at me right now. It's okay. It's okay. Because you're in a situation, you're like, Greg, you do not know my story. If you had my childhood, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying right now. And I do want to very quickly, even aggressively acknowledge, there are situations where none of it was your fault. You were abused as a child. That is not on you. That's not 5% on you. That's not 2% on you. That is 0% on you. I've had so many conversations where I know this is the true story. And particularly in childhood and possibly in some adult circumstances, something that's happened to you and none of it's on you. And today I want to say, I see you. I have a lot of compassion for you. And I still want to lead you. Because what's on you isn't something you've done. But if you wanted to say, that's on me, here's the possibility. None of it's my fault. But it's on me to walk the path of healing. It really is. And it's incredibly difficult, I know. But if you don't walk a path toward healing, get the counsel you need, let your life be reshaped, let your life be redeemed by Christ, do all this. If you don't walk the path of healing, the cycle will continue. And so you aren't to blame and you aren't responsible for what happened to you. But when we become adults, and in particular when we become followers of Jesus, it does become our responsibility to seek healing and help that we need. I'm inspired by so many stories of people whose issues were not their own, but who have taken this journey. One of them is a woman named Dr. Edith Eger. She was a Holocaust survivor and now is a renowned psychologist. This is what she writes out of an experience that was not her fault. She says, we become our own jailers when we choose the confines of a victim's mind. In my experience, victims ask, why me? It's a fair first question. It just can't be the last question. Survivors ask, what now? And this is a church that will be patient with you. It will walk that road, that will appreciate 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and sometimes 1 step forward and 2 steps back. If you will just say, there could be a path to healing, and that's on me to take the path to healing. And it's Jesus who in John 16 said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And then he did. He was treated to every injustice that there was. He did nothing wrong, the only one who was never to blame. And he says, let's be overcomers. And then Paul picks up that theme in Romans for those of us who follow Jesus. And this is what he says. He says, what then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Christ Jesus, who died, and more than that, was raised to life, is at the right hand of God. And he's interceding for us. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. And so this is an invitation to faith, to responsibility, and to extreme self-ownership. Say, that's on me. Would you all stand with me for a moment? I'm going to put this declaration back up on the screen here. And instead of all of us saying it today, I only want the people to say it who are ready to declare it. Who'll say, I've wanted life to be different. I've wished it. I've prayed it, hoped for it, but I haven't drawn the line in the sand. And this week, starting today, I take responsibility for the shortcomings, the sins in my life and my relationships. That's on me. And so I'll read it out loud myself once, and then we'll read it out loud again for whoever's willing to make this declaration. I will take responsibility for my life, not blaming others for where I am. The buck stops with me. If this is your declaration today, would you read it out loud with me? I will take responsibility for my life, not blaming others for where I am. The buck stops with me. Heavenly Father, let us be a community that individually and collectively owns our part. That will notice when we're deflecting, when we're justifying, when we're blaming. And we will eradicate that from our lives. God, I pray that you help us to see it, and then I pray that we will have your power to own it. That's the power in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, I really hope that was helpful for integrating faith with life. Listen, if you're in Northwest Indiana, I'd love to have you join us in person. Head over to suncrest.org and plan your visit.